ഹലോ എവ്രി വൺ, ഗുഡ് ആഫ്റ്റർനൂൺ. എല്ലാവരും ഓൺലൈനിൽ അവൈലബിൾ ആണെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. നമ്മുടെ 10th സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡിൻ്റെ ഫസ്റ്റ് ലെസനായ അഡ്വെഞ്ചേഴ്സ് ഇൻ എ ബനിയൻ ട്രീൻ്റെ ഒരു ചെറിയ പോർഷനാണ് ഇന്ന് ഞാൻ നിങ്ങളുടെ മുന്നിൽ കൊണ്ടുവരുന്നത്. ഒരു ഇന്ത്യൻ റൈറ്ററാണ് മിസ്റ്റർ റസ്കിൻ ബോണ്ട്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഒരു ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ സ്റ്റോറിയാണ് അഡ്വെഞ്ചേഴ്സ് ഇൻ എ ബനിയൻ ട്രീ. ഫസ്റ്റ് ലെസൺ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ നമ്മുടെ ഓണം എക്സാമിനും ഫൈനൽ എക്സാമിനും വളരെ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ളൊരു ലെസനാണ് അഡ്വെഞ്ചേഴ്സ് ഇൻ എ ബനിയൻ ട്രീ. ലെസണിനെ കുറിച്ച് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ കഴിഞ്ഞ വർഷം നമ്മുടെ ടെക്സ്റ്റ് ബുക്കിൽ ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്ത ലെസനാണിത്. അതിന് മുൻപ് ഫസ്റ്റ് ലെസനായിട്ട് വാങ്ക എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ സ്റ്റോറി ആയിരുന്നു ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നത്. വാങ്ക ഇപ്പം നിലവിൽ നമ്മുടെ ടെക്സ്റ്റ് ബുക്കിലെ ലാസ്റ്റ് ലെസനാണ്. ഓക്കെ, സോ വി ആർ ഗോയിങ് ടു സ്റ്റാർട്ട് അഡ്വെഞ്ചേഴ്സ് ഇൻ എ ബനിയൻ ട്രീ, written by the famous writer Ruskin Bond. So, Mr. Parnavola, this is actually a very beautiful story. Okay, and the story is talking about a young boy, a very small boy who enjoys nature. He loves nature. Okay, and the speciality is that he is living with his grandparents. The boy lives with his grandfather, and once it happens that he gets so much pleasure when he befriends with a young squirrel. So one day he met with a very young squirrel and they became very close friends. Okay, and you can see that throughout the lesson Ruskin Bond is trying to include a variety of birds, animals, trees, etc. That means this lesson goes in tune with nature. The lesson goes in tune with nature. Okay, because Ruskin Bond is using a variety of birds, animals, trees, etc. throughout the lesson. It makes the lesson really beautiful and it gives us great pleasure in reading the lesson. So we are going to start. I hope you have read the lesson once. So we are starting, okay? Though the house and grounds of our home in India were grandfather's domain, the magnificent old banyan tree was mine, chiefly because grandfather at the age of 65 could no longer climb it. So the boy says that From the first line, we can understand that the boy is living with his grandparents. And the boy says that the house and the nearby premises of the house, everything belongs to grandfather. But there was a big tree in the plot. There was a banyan tree. That big banyan tree does not belong to the grandfather. Then who is the owner of the banyan tree? It is none other than the boy. So the main character, the protagonist of this story is a small boy. And he says that he is the owner of the banyan tree. Everything else, the house where he lives, the land, the properties in and around the house, everything belongs to the grandfather. But there is something in that plot which belongs to the boy. And what is it? It is a banyan tree. And of course, the boy is also giving us the reason. Why does he say that the tree belongs to him? What is the reason? You can easily find it out because grandfather at the age of 65 could no longer climb it. Grandfather is a very old man. He's past 65 or he's 65 years old. So he is not able to climb the banyan tree. So from that sentence, it's clear who is able to climb the banyan tree. Of course, the boy is able to climb the banyan tree. And so he says that he is the owner of the banyan tree. Okay. Grandmother used to tease him about this. Grandmother is always making fun of the grandfather because grandfather was not able to climb the banyan tree. Nextly, grandmother is also making a mention about a lady, Countess of Desmond, an English woman who lived to the age of 117 and would have lived longer if she hadn't fallen while climbing an apple tree. So there is a small kind of comic that the author is adding up. Grandmother is always talking to grandfather about a lady. Who's the lady? The lady is the Countess of Desmond. And what happened to the lady? She was 117 years. Okay, she was 117 years old. But what happened? Once she climbed on the top of an apple tree, but unfortunately she fell down and she lost her life. Very sorry to say, she lived up to the age of 117 but had a very pathetic death. She had a very sorrowful death because she fell down when she tried to climb an apple tree. Okay. Now, the spreading branches of the banyan tree, which curved to the ground and took root again, forming a maze of arches, gave me endless pleasure. Endless pleasure means too much of pleasure. The boy was very happy to see that the magnificent banyan tree, which was very old and was forming a maze of arches. Okay, the tree was older than the house, older than grandfather. The tree was older than the house, older, comparative form. So older than grandfather, as old as the town of Dehra. They were living in Dehra, nestling in a valley at the foot of Himalayas. The town Dehra, situated on the foot of the Himalayas. So the boy is giving a very small introduction about his life, the people with whom he was living, and he is also giving us a small gist about the background of the house. Okay, so I hope that the first paragraph is clear to you. അതിൽ മിസ് ചില ഭാഗങ്ങൾ ജസ്റ്റ് മിസ് ഇങ്ങനെ ഒഴിവാക്കിയിട്ടു, മീൻസ് ഒഴിവാക്കല്ല, നമ്മളധികം സ്ട്രെസ് ചെയ്യാതെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്. ദോസ് ആർ സം അൺഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് ഏരിയാസ്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് മിസ് ജസ്റ്റ് അതൊന്ന് പ്ലെയിൻ ആയിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞു പോയത്. ആൻഡ് വി ആർ നൗ മൂവിങ് ഓൺ ടു ദ സെക്കൻഡ് പാരഗ്രാഫ്. സോ നമ്മൾ കഥയിലേക്ക് ഒന്നുകൂടെ ഡീപ്പായിട്ട് പോവുകയാണ്. ഇവിടെ നിന്നാണ് ഒരുപാട് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് നമ്മുടെ എക്സാമിൽ ഫസ്റ്റ് ആൻസർ ചെയ്യുന്ന ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് അധികം കാണാറില്ല. പാസേജ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആയാലും ഡിസ്കോഴ്സ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആയാലും ഒക്കെ ഇനി വരാൻ പോകുന്ന ഒരു ഏരിയാസ് എന്നാണ് കൂടുതലായിട്ട് വരാറ്. സോ വി ആർ സ്റ്റാർട്ടിങ് ഹിയർ. My first friend and familiar was a small grey squirrel. So there, our narrator, the boy, he met with a small grey squirrel, and in a very short time they became very good friends. Okay, arching his back and sniffing into the air, the squirrel always kept his back in an arch position, and he was always sniffing into the air. Sniffing means to smell. He was always smelling in the air. Then what happens? It seemed at first to resent my invasion of his privacy. So at first the boy thought that the squirrel did not like the companion or the friendship of the boy. First of all, the boy thought that the squirrel was not interested to become friends with the boy. He was not interested in a friendship with the boy. He thought so actually. Then what happened? But when he found that I did not arm myself with a catapult or an air gun, he became friendlier. And so, look here, the squirrel looked at the hands of the boy, and the squirrel understood that the boy was not carrying any kinds of weapon or tools with him. Okay, he had empty hands. He was not having any intention to disturb or attack the squirrel. So the squirrel understood that the boy was very friendly. So then what happened? I started leaving him pieces of cake and biscuit. He grew bolder and finally became familiar enough to take food from our hands. Then later, the boy started to give the squirrel some small pieces of cake and biscuit. So the squirrel liked it very much. So slowly, the squirrel started becoming very friendly with the boy, and the squirrel started to eat food from the boy's hands. Did you understand? So what do you mean by that? Eating food from the boy's hands. It shows the great intimacy or the mutual friendship and respect that the boy and the squirrel shared with each other. Now the squirrel understood that the boy is a very good boy. He is a friendly boy. The squirrel also understood that the boy did not have any intention to attack the squirrel. So he became very friendly with the boy. Okay? Before long, he was delving into my pockets and helping himself to whatever he could find. Slowly, their friendship grew very stronger, and the squirrel was even searching the pocket of our boy to find if he is able to get something to eat actually. Okay? He was a very young squirrel, and his friends and relatives probably thought him headstrong and foolish for trusting a man. The boy thought that the friends and relatives of the squirrel might be thinking that this squirrel is a headstrong and a foolish squirrel because he is trusting a human. Okay, so the boy thought that the other squirrels might be trying to make fun of the squirrel because he is developing a friendship with a human being. I hope the second paragraph is also clear to you. So, we have got a small introduction about the boy, the house he is living in, and the squirrel, the banyan tree, etc. Hope you enjoyed the first part of the lesson. We'll have a doubt clearing session very soon, and we'll see you on the next day. Before that, do remember, please read the lesson over and over again and make sure that you are thorough with the lesson. Okay, wishing you all the best and wishing you a very good day. Okay, bye. ഹലോ എവ്രി വൺ, ഗുഡ് ആഫ്റ്റർനൂൺ. എല്ലാവരും ഓൺലൈനിൽ അവൈലബിൾ ആണെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. നമ്മുടെ 10th സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡിൻ്റെ ഫസ്റ്റ് ലെസണായ അഡ്വെഞ്ചേഴ്സ് ഇൻ എ ബനിയൻ ട്രീൻ്റെ ഒരു ചെറിയ പോർഷനാണ് ഇന്ന് ഞാൻ നിങ്ങളുടെ മുന്നിൽ